Have you ever been told that premium gas will make your car run better, or that filling up in the morning saves you money? Well, if that's the case, maybe you've been exposed to one of the most popular fuel myths out there that also aren't necessarily true. And in today's video, I'll go through 8 of them to make sure that you'll never fall for a fuel myth again, especially if you're about to head to the gas station. These fuel myths are not just emptying your wallet, but could be destroying your engine. And trust me, what I'm about to tell you might surprise even experienced drivers. Let's start with fuel myth number 1 that I hear in my shop almost every day, that all gas brands are basically the same. Here's the truth. While the base fuel might be similar in your area, different brands use completely different additive packages. Most gasoline, regardless of the brand, comes from the same bulk supply or tank farms. The base gasoline is identical, but different brands add their proprietary additives before distribution. And yes, this actually matters for your engine. All gasoline must have a detergent pack added before delivery to meet federal requirements. You know those big car companies like BMW, Honda, and Toyota? They specifically tell you to use what's called top-tier gas. This isn't just marketing. These fuels have way more cleaning agents than the minimum required by law. Studies by AAA have shown that top-tier gasoline results in significantly fewer carbon deposits in engines compared to non-top-tier gasoline. Some brands even put in 5 times more cleaning stuff than they have to. Fuel myth number 2 is hitting your wallet at every fill-up, thinking higher octane means more power. Let me break this down in simple terms. Octane rating isn't about power at all. It just shows how well the fuel resists premature ignition, also known as knocking, in your engine. The octane number measures how stable your fuel stays when it's under high pressure in the engine compression chamber. Modern cars actually have smart engine management systems with knock sensors that can detect and prevent knocking. These systems will adjust your engine's performance to protect it, but this means you might lose power if you use the wrong fuel. You know what's funny? All these fuels actually have pretty much the same energy content. Your regular 87 octane and premium 91 or 93 octane fuels contain similar energy. In fact, if your car is designed for regular gas, using premium fuel might actually give you slightly worse efficiency because of its different energy content. For everyday vehicles that say regular gas is fine, pumping in premium fuel won't make your engine perform any better or run any cleaner. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Higher octane fuel is really only needed for specific engines, like turbocharged or high compression engines found in performance vehicles. These engines are specially designed with higher compression ratios and have specific computer tuning, called ECU mapping, to take advantage of premium fuel. Premium fuel typically costs about 20% more than regular gas, so using it in a car that doesn't need it is just throwing money away. Here's something interesting most people don't know. Your car's octane needs actually change based on where you live and even the weather. For every 1,000 feet you climb in elevation, you actually need less octane in your fuel. This happens because there's less air density at higher altitudes, which changes how the fuel burns in your engine. When the air is more humid out, you need less octane number 2. Your engine speed affects this too. The faster your engine spins, the less octane it needs, dropping by 1 point for every 300 RPM increase in speed. And those power gains people swear they feel when putting premium gas in a regular car? That's mostly in their head, kind of like a placebo effect. Now, let me tell you about myth number 3. One I've heard from countless customers. You must always keep your tank above half full. Here's the real deal. While running on empty isn't great, you don't need to be obsessive about keeping it above half. Many drivers do not experience significant issues running their vehicles down to a quarter tank or lower. Here's what actually happens inside your tank. Your fuel pump uses the gas not just for pumping, but for cooling itself too. A fuller tank helps cool the fuel pump, which can extend its lifespan and prevent costly repairs. The real danger zone of fuel level is below 1/8 tank. That's when your pump starts running hot and can wear out fast. And trust me, a fuel pump replacement isn't cheap. Running the tank consistently low can also stir up fuel contaminants and sludge that settle at the bottom of your tank. In winter months, keeping low fuel levels can be particularly problematic, as it increases the risk of fuel line freezing and allows more space for water vapor to condense inside the tank. Some folks think running on less fuel improves gas mileage because of weight savings, but here's the truth. For a typical car, the weight difference between a full tank and half tank is only around 40 to 50 pounds. According to EPA estimates, every 100 pounds reduces fuel economy by just 1 to 2%. This minimal saving isn't worth the hassle of frequent refueling stops. Moving on to myth number 4, and this one makes me laugh every time I hear it. Buying gas in the morning saves money because the fuel is denser. Here's what the science actually tells us. While it's true that fuel is denser at lower temperatures, the real-world impact is incredibly small. For a typical fill-up of 8 to 10 liters, we're talking about a difference of only about 5 milliliters, which translates to savings of mere cents. Let me tell you something crucial about gas station design. Those underground tanks are like giant thermoses. They maintain a relatively constant temperature regardless of the time of day. The fuel stays at a stable temperature underground, which means the density stays pretty consistent whether you're filling up at sunrise or midday. Want to know what really affects your fuel efficiency? It's not about when you fill up, it's about how you drive. Gradual acceleration, maintaining a safe following distance, and driving at around 55 pf are the real keys to fuel savings. Even better, keep your tires properly inflated and avoid carrying unnecessary weight in your car. And here comes myth number 5, probably the one that irritates me the most as a mechanic. Those so-called miracle fuel-saving devices? Save your money. Let me break this down completely. The EPA has tested these devices and found no positive impact on fuel economy. In fact, a $1 million challenge was issued to manufacturers to prove the effectiveness of fuel-saving devices, with no successful claims after 2 years. I've seen everything from magnetic fuel line clips to OBD2 plug-in fuel savers claiming dramatic savings. Some even promising impossible improvements like 30% for CNG, 20% for petrol, and 15% for diesel engines. These miracle devices typically contain nothing more than a simple circuit board and an LED light. That's it. Even worse, they can actually cause electrical problems in your vehicle, leading to no crank, no start scenarios, potentially damaging your ECU. Now, let's come to these magnetic fuel savers. These magnetic devices are pretty simple. They consist of 2 plastic pieces with small magnets that attach to the fuel line near the carburetor. The basic claim is that they somehow improve fuel flow, but testing has consistently shown they lack any significant benefits. Let me tell you what actually happens. While some users report initial improvements in fuel economy after installing magnets on the fuel hose, going from 16 km per liter to 20 km per liter on petrol, these benefits always diminish over time as the vehicle's ECU adapts. Let's tackle myth number 6, the idea that E10 fuel will wreck your engine. Here's the straight truth. E10 is totally fine for most modern cars, particularly those built after 2011. But it's critical to note that around 600,000 older vehicles may not be compatible, potentially leading to engine damage. Let me explain what E10 actually is. It's regular gas mixed with 10% ethanol. In terms of performance, E10 has some important characteristics you should know about. First, ethanol has about 30% less specific energy than gasoline, leading to a theoretical energy loss of about 3% when switching to E10. This typically results in a 3 to 5% decrease in fuel economy. And here's something important about ethanol. It's actually hygroscopic, meaning it attracts water, which can lead to moisture in fuel systems. This is particularly problematic for carbureted engines and vehicles that aren't used regularly. E10 can be corrosive to steel fuel tanks and certain rubber components, especially when mixed with moisture. It can degrade rubber hoses, gaskets, seals, metals, and plastics, particularly in older engines. Just remember though, If you're storing a vehicle for an extended period, E10 isn't recommended because it's less stable for long-term storage. Speaking of old fuel, let's bust myth number 7 about gas always going bad. In my repair shop, I deal with this all the time, especially with seasonal equipment like boats and lawnmowers. Here's what really happens. Gas doesn't just go bad like milk. Pure gasoline generally begins to degrade in 3 to 6 months when stored in sealed containers, while ethanol-blended gasoline has a shorter shelf life of about 2 to 3 months. The science behind this is fascinating. Gasoline is a complex mixture of about 150 different hydrocarbons. These volatile components evaporate at different rates, which is why the remaining gasoline becomes less effective as fuel, leading to poor combustion. In ethanol-blended fuel, which is most common today, you've got additional challenges. The ethanol attracts water and promotes sludge formation, making it more problematic for engines, especially small ones. When stored in airtight containers in cool, dry, dark places, gasoline can last significantly longer. But here's the catch. In a vented tank, it can degrade in as little as 3 to 4 weeks, and gasoline stored in unsealed containers can lose up to 50% of its burning capability within just 30 days. If the gasoline smells like varnish instead of that fresh gasoline smell, that's your first red flag. You might also notice it's darker in color, and in engines it can cause misfiring, especially at higher throttle levels. But here's an interesting point. Even gas that's been stored for a while can often still be used if you mix it with fresh fuel. Many users recommend a 50-50 mixture of old and new gas to help engines run smoothly without adverse effects. You can actually extend the life of your fuel using stabilizers. They can help gasoline last up to 12 months. For equipment like boats and lawnmowers that sit unused for long periods, it's recommended to either run the fuel out completely or keep the tank full to minimize air exposure and water contamination. And here comes myth number 8 about needing special fuel habits in winter. People think they need to do all sorts of special things with their fuel in winter, but that's old thinking from back when cars were simple machines. Here's what actually happens in winter. Your car already knows it's cold outside. It has temperature sensors everywhere. In your engine, in your air intake, even in your fuel system. Winter gasoline has significant differences. It contains more ethanol and butane, which helps with cold starts, but has lower energy content. This is why you'll notice your fuel economy drop by about 2 to 4 mpg in winter. In UK, fuel stations use special diesel fuel with protective additives that stop it from freezing into a gel in winters. While summer diesel starts turning thick at 23 degrees Fahrenheit, winter diesel keeps flowing smoothly all the way down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. But you know what really causes winter problems? First, cold temperatures make engine oil and lubricants thicker, increasing drag and making it harder for the engine to operate efficiently. The cold, dense air increases aerodynamic drag while also reducing tire pressure. For every 10 degrees Fahrenheit drop in temperature, you lose about 1 psi. So forget about special fuel tricks in winter. Focus on what really matters. Get your battery tested before it gets cold, change to the right oil, and please check your tire tread. Let's wrap up what really matters about these fuel myths. They're not just stories, they're costing you real money and damaging engines. The solution is simple. Check your owner's manual for the right fuel grade and skip those miracle fuel-saving gadgets. If they worked, every car company would use them. The money wasted on premium gas when it's not needed could go toward actual maintenance your car needs. Have you fallen for any of these myths? Share your experience in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more car care tips. See you in the next video.